When I got home from work that night, the house didn't feel right. The air was too still. I dropped my keys, turned on the lights, and froze. Everything was gone. The couch, the TV, even the kitchen chairs. My fridge was missing. The drawers hung open empty, not a single fork left. On the living room wall, a note flapped in the air from the ceiling fan. "We need it more than you do." "Thanks, Patrick." I stared at it until the ink blurred. My brother's handwriting. My pulse slowed, not faster. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just thought, all right then, let's begin. My name is Amanda Collins, and for most of my life, I thought being a good sister meant giving everything you have. I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and I've worked at the same insurance office for almost 20 years. People there say I'm dependable, the kind of person who always stays late to finish what others leave behind. They don't know that's how I've lived my entire adult life, picking up what others drop, fixing what others break, carrying weight that was never really mine. When I was 25, my parents died in a car accident on a wet October night. My brother Ryan was 15, still a kid, still full of unfinished sentences and late homework. At the funeral, our relatives whispered about who would take him. I can't. One aunt said we have 3 of our own. Someone else suggested foster care. I remember standing up, voice shaking but firm. He's coming with me. And he did. I rented a small apartment with faded carpet and leaky windows. By day, I worked full-time as an office assistant. At night, I stocked shelves at a grocery store. Ryan got my bedroom. I slept on a pull-out couch. I made sure his shoes were new even when mine had holes. On his 16th birthday, I baked a cake at midnight because I couldn't afford the bakery one. He hugged me and said, "You're the best sister ever." I believed him. Years went by. I saved for his college tuition, skipped vacations, skipped life. I still remember the day I drove him to campus. He waved from the dorm steps, all energy and promise. I sat in the car afterward and cried, not from sadness, but relief. "You did it," I told myself. "He's going to be okay." But Ryan never really grew up. He called every month needing help with rent, books, gas. I sent money without hesitation. When he graduated and got a job, I paid his first deposit for an apartment. Then he met Brittany. At first, I was happy for him. She was bubbly, talkative, always complimenting my cooking and pretending to help wash dishes after dinner. They dated for 5 years. When he proposed, he called me crying. "I can't afford the wedding I want." I told him not to worry, I'd handle it. $20,000 later, he had a perfect ceremony under fairy lights and soft jazz. I watched him dance and thought Mom and Dad would be proud. A few months later, I gave them $30,000 for a down payment on a house. It's an investment I said half to convince myself. He promised to pay me back someday. Someday never came. Then little things started changing. Brittany came by, often always smiling, always asking, "Oh my gosh, that bag is gorgeous. Can I borrow it?" Or, "Those shoes would look perfect with my dress tonight." We wore the same size, so it was easy. I didn't mind at first, but she never brought anything back. After a while, my closet looked thinner. My patience, too. I'd text her about a blouse, and she'd answer, "I think I left it at my mom's." Next time she came, she'd eye something else. One afternoon, I stopped her before she could ask. "You still have my blue jacket and the beige purse and that sweater I lent you last month? I'd like them back." Her smile froze. "Wow, you really keep track, huh? Don't be so greedy." Ryan walked in halfway through, frowning. "What's going on?" "Nothing," Brittany said. "Your sister's upset because I borrowed a couple of things." He turned to me. "Amanda, come on. You've got plenty of clothes. Don't make it a big deal." That line cut deeper than he realized. I swallowed whatever I wanted to say and stepped aside. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted peace. After that, they stopped visiting as much, and maybe that was a relief. I focused on work, started saving for myself for once. A new couch, a better kitchen, maybe even a proper vacation. I thought the worst was behind us. I was wrong. The first sign that something had shifted was how Brittany's tone changed whenever she talked to me. She'd once called me the sweetest sister-in-law in the world. Now it was, "Oh, Amanda, you just wouldn't understand." I brushed it off at first. People get busy. People change. But every small moment started adding up. Whenever we were together, she found ways to remind me of what I had and what they didn't. "You're so lucky," she'd say, glancing around my living room. Some of us can't afford nice things yet. It was a compliment that felt like an accusation. Then came the endless borrowing. One weekend, Brittany asked for my silver clutch. The next, my heels. After a month, she was walking around in my jacket, holding my purse, posting photos online with captions like, "Date night look." I'd comment, half-jokingly, "Nice purse. Looks familiar." She'd reply with a laughing emoji, never mentioning it again. I told myself to let it go. Ryan loved her, and I loved him. But one day, she crossed a line. She came over, eyes on the new rug I'd just bought. "This is stunning, Amanda. You always pick the best things. I wish we could afford pieces like this." Then, like she couldn't help herself, "If we ever buy something that nice, I'm calling you to decorate for us." She said it sweetly, but it stung. That evening, I tried to talk to Ryan. "She keeps taking things, Ryan. Clothes, shoes, even my blender last week. And she never brings them back." He sighed, barely looking up from his phone. "She's just borrowing them. Don't make it weird. She's not returning them." He rolled his eyes. "Amanda, you can afford to replace it. Why are you acting like this?" Something in his voice, the dismissive way he said it, made my chest tighten. I wanted to scream that I'd spent half my life working so he could have everything, that I was tired of being treated like a safety net. But instead, I just said quietly, "I'm done lending her anything." After that, the visits stopped. Weeks went by without a text or call. When I finally reached out, Ryan replied with one sentence, "We're fine, just busy." Busy. Right. I poured myself into work. By summer, I'd saved enough to finally renovate my house, the first real investment I'd ever made for myself. I ordered new furniture, new appliances, everything coordinated and bright. The house smelled of fresh paint and wood polish. For once, every piece in that space was mine, bought with my own money, and no guilt attached. When the renovation finished, I called Ryan to offer him my old furniture. "Hey, most of it's still in great condition. You and Brittany could use it for the new place." There was silence then, a muffled voice in the background. I heard Brittany scoff. "Tell her we don't want her junk." Ryan came back on. "Sorry, Amanda. We've got other plans." I smiled into the phone. "Of course. No problem." After we hung up, I sat in my spotless new living room, the light slanting through the windows. I should have felt proud, but instead there was a strange ache in my chest. For years, I'd been the person who gave, who carried who, made sure everyone else was okay. Now, with no one left to take care of, I wasn't sure who I was. Still, I told myself, "You've done enough. You've earned this peace." I had no idea that within a week, that peace would be stolen too. It happened on a Thursday. I remember because I'd worked late finishing reports and stopped for takeout on the way home. The sky was turning gray, the kind that makes the streetlights flicker on early. When I pulled into my driveway, something looked off. The porch light was on, but I never left it that way. My stomach tightened. The lock was bent, metal twisted like a paperclip. I pushed the door open. Silence. Every inch of the house felt wrong. My footsteps echoed on bare floors where the rug used to be. The walls looked wider, the air colder. My couch gone. My new refrigerator gone. Even the framed photos of Mom and Dad gone. Only the faint marks on the wall showed they'd ever been there. In the kitchen drawers gaped open, empty. I slid one out, no forks. Not one. That was what broke me, not the big things, but the small, stupid detail. Then I saw it. A piece of paper taped to the wall. My brother's handwriting, large and careless. "We need it more than you do. Thanks, Patrick." I stood there reading it again and again, the words burning deeper each time. My pulse slowed, cold creeping up my spine. I didn't cry, not this time. A knock startled me. It was Mrs. Henderson from across the street, holding her phone. "Honey, I saw them earlier," she said, voice trembling. "A truck backed up to your house, your brother driving. I thought you'd told him to take the furniture." I forced a breath. "You didn't do anything wrong." She hesitated. "I have a camera facing your driveway. It caught everything. Do you want the footage?" "Yes," I said, calm and steady. "Please." When she left, I sat on the bare floor and turned the note over in my hands. My entire world had just been stripped clean, piece by the boy I once raised like my own son. And somehow, under the shock, one clear thought formed. They took everything I had. Now I'll take back everything they think I owe them. The 3 days passed slower than I thought they would. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, I scrolled through Brittany's social media and saw photos of her newly furnished home. My couch, my table, my TV glowing in the background. The caption read, "Finally feeling settled." Day 3, I waited. Nothing again. When the sun rose on the 4th morning, I called David. "They've made their choice," I said. That afternoon, 2 police cars pulled up to Ryan's driveway. I sat in my car across the street, watching from behind my sunglasses. Brittany rushed out in her robe, shouting, "You can't do this. This is family." Ryan looked stunned, like he hadn't believed I'd actually go through with it. I didn't move. I didn't wave. I watched as they argued with the officers, then got into the cruiser for questioning. An hour later, my phone rang. Ryan's name flashed across the screen. I answered. His voice cracked. "Amanda, what did you do? The police are here. They're saying we stole from you. You did," I said evenly. "You had 3 days. Come on, sis. We were going to return it." "After remodeling your kitchen?" I asked. I saw the photos, Ryan. He fell silent. Then Brittany's voice came through, shrill and angry. "You think this makes you the victim? You have money, we don't. We just needed help." "You broke into my house," I said. "That's not help. Don't be dramatic," she snapped. "We borrowed." "You'll get everything back." "Good," I replied. "The police will make sure of it." And I hung up. That evening, David called. "They're being detained for questioning," he said. "The officers want you at the station tomorrow." When I arrived, the air smelled of coffee and metal. Ryan and Brittany sat at a small table, both pale eyes red. The officer looked from them to me. "They're asking if you'll consider dropping the charges," he said. Ryan stood up. "Please, Amanda. We made a mistake. We'll bring it all back today." I looked at him, this man I'd once carried through grief, who I'd fed and clothed and believed in. "No," I said quietly. "You didn't make a mistake. You made a choice." Brittany started crying. "You're ruining our lives." "You did that yourselves," I said. Voice steady. "Actions have consequences." The officer nodded slightly, signaling for me to step outside. David followed, his hand light on my shoulder. "You sure you don't want to settle privately?" I turned to him. "If I back down now, I'll be teaching them they can steal from me forever." The next week was a blur of paperwork, statements, and hearings. The video from Mrs. Henderson's camera became the centerpiece of the case. It showed Ryan unlocking my door, loading the truck, smiling as he carried out boxes. Brittany directing him from the porch, her phone out, filming like it was a home project. At the trial, they sat beside their lawyer, hands clasped like scared children. The prosecutor laid out every piece of evidence, photos, receipts, bank transfers, even the note taped to my wall. When the note appeared on the screen, the courtroom went silent. Those words, "We need it more than you do." "Thanks, Patrick," glared in black ink. The judge leaned forward. "This is theft," he said. "Not misunderstanding, not family dispute. Theft." He sentenced them both to probation, fined them $1,500 each, and ordered them to return everything they'd taken, plus pay for damages, the broken lock, the scratched floor, the dented door frame. Brittany sobbed. Ryan stared at the table, eyes glassy. I didn't smile. I didn't speak. I just felt something unclench inside me. After court, I met David in his office. He slid a folder across the desk. "Everything's resolved," he said. I opened it, then looked up. Not quite. He raised an eyebrow. "I want to change my will." "Excuse me, I've left everything to Ryan since my parents died. I want to remove him completely." "Who should inherit then, Charity?" "Set up a trust fund." David nodded slowly. "I'll draft it today. Do you want him notified?" "Yes," I said. "Send him the notice personally." 2 days later, Ryan showed up pounding on my door. The chain lock rattled under his fists. I peered through the peephole. "Amanda!" he yelled. "You changed your will. Are you serious?" I opened the door just enough for the chain to hold. "Yes, I'm your only family. Everything should go to me. You stole from me, Ryan. Why would I leave you anything?" He gestured wildly. "We apologized." "No," I said. "You cried because you got caught." Brittany stepped forward, face blotchy tears streaking her makeup. "I'm pregnant. We're having a baby." "Don't you care about your niece or nephew? Congratulations," I said flatly. "But that doesn't change what you did. You're heartless," she spat. "We needed help, and I helped." I snapped, my voice rising for the first time. "For 17 years, I paid for everything, your clothes, your food, your car, your wedding, your house. I gave you all I had, and you broke into my home and took what little was left. You call that family?" Ryan's face twisted with anger. "You were supposed to take care of me. That's your job." "My job ended when you turned 18, I said, voice shaking. "Everything after that was love, and you used it like a credit card with no limit." He glared, breathing hard. "Change it back." I stepped closer, the chain still between us. "No!" Brittany's voice turned desperate. "We're broke, Amanda. Please." "I'm done," I said quietly. "Don't come back here again. If you do, I'll get a restraining order." They stood there stunned. Then Ryan muttered, "You'll regret this," and pulled her away. When their car disappeared, I closed the door and leaned against it. The silence felt different this time, not empty, but safe. I walked through my house. The furniture had been returned, the appliances reinstalled. Everything looked exactly as before, but it didn't feel the same. It finally felt like mine. That night, I sat on the couch they'd once stolen and looked around the living room. The lights glowed soft and warm. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about what I owed anyone. I was thinking about what came next. 2 weeks later, the world was quiet again. The police paperwork was done, the court fees paid, and Ryan's number blocked. I hadn't realized how peaceful silence could be until I stopped hearing my phone buzz with his name. One afternoon, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole, Ryan and Brittany again. My stomach dropped, but I opened the door halfway, chain still locked. Brittany's eyes were swollen. "Please," she said, voice cracking. "We've lost everything. We're sorry. We just want to make things right." Behind her, Ryan stood stiff, jaw clenched. I didn't raise my voice. "You already had the chance to make things right. Remember the 3 days?" Brittany wiped her face. "We're having the baby soon. It's a girl. She deserves a family." Something inside me softened for a heartbeat, then hardened again. "She'll have her parents. That's enough." Ryan finally spoke quieter than I'd ever heard him. "I don't expect you to forgive us, but you're all we have left." I looked at him for a long moment, and that's exactly why I can't do it again. I closed the door slowly. Their voices faded down the walkway, swallowed by wind. Later that week, I had a full security system installed, cameras, alarms, motion sensors. As the technician finished, he said, "No one's getting in here again." "I know," I replied. That evening, I sat in my living room, everything back in its place. The light poured golden through the windows. The couch felt solid beneath me, the air clean, safe. I poured a glass of wine, took a sip, and whispered to myself, "You did it. You stopped the cycle." For the first time in 17 years, my life belonged to me. A month later, I was standing barefoot on a beach in Maui, the wind warm against my skin. The ocean stretched out like glass, endless and blue. I hadn't taken a real vacation since my parents died. Now I finally had nothing holding me back. I watched the waves slide over the sand and thought about that empty house, the broken lock, the note taped to my wall. For years, I'd mistaken sacrifice for love, guilt for loyalty. It took losing everything to understand that family isn't blood, it's respect. I smiled, letting the salt air sting my eyes. For the first time, it didn't hurt. It felt like freedom. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I whispered, 3 days, that's all it took to see the truth. Then I turned away from the water and walked toward the lights of the resort, leaving every trace of them behind. If you've ever had to choose yourself over family, tell me your story in the comments. And if you believe peace is worth fighting for, hit subscribe, there's more to come.